Hi everyone, it's Monster Art School, that's right. The place where you come to draw and draw monsters. That was yesterday's, not quite monster, but pig warrior. And today, I don't know why, we're going to do a bear warrior. I just think animal warriors are fun. Plus, like, they don't have to be exactly a bear. They could be something a little bit more different. But I thought, we'll have fun kind of trying to play around with some shapes and some creatures, and I don't know, just sounds different than kind of what we were doing before. So today we're going to deal with a lot of big bulky shapes, and we dealt with that yesterday with the pig. So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit, because we want to be able to see how volume works. So when we're drawing stuff with volume, if we have a sphere, volume is just making sure that there's a sense that there's a light source. So if the light's coming this way, we create a shadow away from the light, and that gives you volume. So when you have a volume in front of another volume, there's a couple different things that work. So we have that same light source. This light is going to hit this object here, right? So you can draw a circle around it. But then this object is going to be blocking some of the light as well. So that's called a cast shadow. So this sphere is going to cast a shadow over that sphere. So you get that. And then you're going to get the regular shadow on this sphere. And the further away it gets from the light, because the light's here, the further away that gets light, the shadow is going to creep up the sphere, right? And then each of these objects is going to be touching the ground, which is called an occlusion shadow. So we have to have where two objects meet is an occlusion. So we'll have that right where it touches the ground. And then in between the two objects where they meet is also going to be an occlusion. So right about there where these two balls meet, it's going to be not here, but up here where these two balls meet is going to be the darkest spot. Because I'm imagining that they're going to meet right around where this comes towards us and where that goes back furthest. So right around that area there. Let's make it a little more accurate. And then if we draw in order to draw shadows, what you do is you take from the light source, you go 90 degrees, or straight out, sorry, from the light source. And you can draw right out from the light source, and the shadow for this object should come out to about here. See how I'm drawing that? And the shadow for that object should come out to around there. And we kind of get the kind of combined objects. And you can see in this, there's things like, hi guys, I'm Maggie, hi Sue. So you can see that there's overlap in here, where one object overlaps the other. Just want you to keep in mind those things when we're drawing. We don't get into all this kind of detail. We don't get into all this shading stuff, but I just like to, give a little lesson at the beginning so you guys can have an idea of what's going on when we're talking about lighting and shadows and all that other stuff, okay? Anyway, let's go on to a bear warrior. Ta-da! Oh, that's the pig from yesterday, so let's not do that. Paper has a little bend in it, which doesn't make me happy, but I think we'll be okay. All right, so with the bear, because we want to try and create a sense of space, I want to make sure that I don't go off the paper, and I'm imagining the bear is going to be pretty big. So what I want to do is I'm going to kind of get a gesture for the whole body in. So I'm imagining the body of the bear from its hand to its far shoulder, to its shoulder to its other hand is going to be like that. And then that the body of the bear is going to fit in here. So I'm just kind of doing a loose, an orb here. Sphere, I keep calling it the wrong thing. Not a sphere. An ellipse. And then we're going to draw from here. We're going to imagine the hips like this, coming out like so, and then we'll put the feet down here. So we want to make sure that this bear is, bears have to, they have They have a lot of body weight on the bottom of their bodies, so they're kind of bottom heavy. So if it's going to be standing up, we want to have him kind of standing up and leaning forward toward us. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to have the legs split out like this. So just kind of get this indication here. We'll get an indication of the arm here, okay? You don't have to draw anything seriously detailed. Just kind of thinking about shapes. And then right here is where I want to put the head. So I'm going to put the head there, kind of over the middle of the body. But bears tend to, when they walk, they tend to have their head lower than the apex of their spine. So where their spine meets the back of their neck, that tends to be higher than their head when they're walking. So I kind of want this guy to have this look of like, you know, hunched over, serious kind of guy here. And we're going to get, you know, just bring this down loosely, kind of draw a sphere for the hand here, and we'll draw a sphere for the hand there. Sometimes it's good to have the landmarks in place. You know where the feet are, you know where the legs are, and then once you've built that kind of snowman figure, you can work from there. So here I'm going to draw, I think he's going to have a sword. And right here, now part of the thing is we have to think about proportions, and the bears have big heads. So they have big heads, smaller upper torsos, not smaller than their heads, but smaller, and then their bottom half of their body is pretty big. So we want to make sure that we don't make the head too small or too big. So we have to make sure it fits kind of within the proportion. So it's like big, bigger, biggest right here. But again, that's usually the usually on men and humans, the chest is the biggest of the three. But in the case of the bear, I'm going to make the hips and the lower body the biggest of the three. Okay. Now, right about here, we've got where our eyes are going to go here. So let's draw a kind of a what do you call it? Nah, I always forget the names of these basic shapes. It's not a square, but it's the two sides come close, taper as they go back. Okay. And then we're going to draw another one down like this. So they're going to taper as they go this way. Okay. And then that's going to be where his snout's going to be. And then we'll, right around here under the eyes, we'll draw kind of a big circle here. So it'll go to the middle of the nose and around. Now, why are we drawing that? That's just to give us an idea of where the eyes should go. And the eyes should go right in here. Okay, and this will be their cheekbone. Their jawbone would be underneath here, just to give you an idea of where the bear is coming from here. Now, we've got the whole back of the head here. So just drawing around the head from the eyes and up a little bit, we can draw kind of curved triangles for ears. And of course, if you have one on one side, you got to have one on the other in approximately the same space, right? And then we're going to bring this curve out a little bit, kind of give that bear a little bit more kind of fluffy berry sense here. Because we want the snout to come forward out of there. So we got that now. And then let's see. Right up here on the front, we're going to bring this in. It's an upside down triangle for now. We can get more detailed later, but right now it's an upside down triangle. And then, you can remember to draw the lower eyelid of the eye and the upper eyelid of the eye on here. Just take, like half moon shapes there. And then down the center here, we're going to do that classic draw a line down the center of the nose and bring it out like this. Now, these shapes, part of the fun part about, or the part about muzzles is this part here has to look like it goes over the lower part of the mouth. So it's going to come around like so, So you want it to look like it's going to flow and overlap this part down here, which is the lower part of the mouth, the lower jaw. So we can keep it open a little bit there like that, and then the mouth can come up into here if we want. Let's bring it a little lower. It'll come out like to there. And that way what you're getting is this kind of, you see the cheekbone around here now, and the furry cheek coming out like so. Okay. And then, you know, we'll get some fur up here. Now, remember what I said, this is going to go back. This is essentially his neck right here. And here is, you know, that bone where your that spinal bone where your neck kind of meets your back. It's right at like the top of your shoulders, and you can feel like a bump there. That's what this is here on the bear. I'm forgetting the name of that bone, but there's a special name for it. It's one of the spinal bones, but there's a special name for it. I'm forgetting the name. But anyway, now, hey Fred. Hey, Antonio. Hey, John. Parallelogram. Thank you, John. Well, is it a parallelogram if these two sides are not parallel? I don't know. So now we're going to bring this down here. So this is going to be his upper arm. So we don't need to really worry about, you know, deltoids and stuff like that. I mean, we can kind of give a slight bump for that. We can kind of give a slight bump for where the bicep and all those, you know, all those parts that we see on a human would be, but we don't really need to get crazy with that. And then right about here, we'll just kind of allow this here to end in a sphere, okay? And we'll do the same over here. We'll bring this down, we'll end it in a sphere down here, and that'll be where the elbow is. And since we're doing an overlap, or more accurately, we're going to be doing foreshortening, I'll show you what the trick is. So we have this shape here, which is the upper arm, and then the elbow. And then we want the forearm. So since we want the arm essentially to be doing this, okay? So it's coming forward. But since it's facing us now, we can't, you know, we can't see the whole thing. So what happens is, as this object comes toward us, the way to do foreshortening is, as we turn this, see how there's an ellipse there and an ellipse there, right? As we turn that object toward us, these ellipses turn more closer into circles. So as they get closer, kind of like if you're looking at like a, is this jar okay? Yeah, so if you're looking at this jar, right now, you're just seeing an almost curved, slightly curved line. As you get this way, you're seeing more of an ellipse. As it points toward us, you start to see more and more of a circle, okay? So if we're going to move this object toward us, we're going to draw it more like that. And that gives us that sense of, here's the front of it, here's this, and then the back of it's back here, and then this would be the sideline here, okay? So now, that's a little lesson in foreshortening for you. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to basically bring this around, and we're going to draw a foreshortened tube here. And we'll do the same here. We're going to have this one, we'll make this come up a little bit. So we'll have a foreshortened cylinder here, or tube, whatever you want to call it. And then now what we want to make sure is that the chest of the bear is in front of the belly of the bear. So the chest of the bear is going to be right about here where the arm connects in. So let's kind of just slowly indicate that in there. And then for the belly, let's go in. We're over his rib cage, which will be here. We'll go in straight, and then we'll have that big bear belly here to kind of, you know, for the lower part of the bears. And the bears don't really have, I don't think it's big belly. I think it's just, you know, where they store fat. I mean, obviously that's a belly, but I don't think it's necessarily that they're fat. It's just that they have a larger area down there. And their hips are kind of wide. So now we've got this lower leg here and this lower leg there. And the same kind of thing applies to the cylinder. we're gonna see the inside of his leg on this one, so we'd see this curve away from us, and on this one we would see it fitting into the hip like that, so we'll see the front of the knee here, but his belly overlaps it, so we're gonna let that go. So in order to show that the belly overlaps, we'll just kind of allow this belly to curve over the surface of his leg and kind of do that. And then here the belly's going to kind of just basically hang in front of that leg. Okay? Now, this knee is in front of the back or the lower part of the leg. So we're going to overlap that. And then the foot is overlapped by this part of the leg. And I would say the foot, think of the foot like right now as a hockey puck. So kind of a shape like this. Just think of like a hockey puck, where you're looking at the top of the hockey puck. So here we'll go like this, and then we'll draw another hockey puck here. They're not going to stay hockey pucks, but I figured, just for now, it's kind of a good, hey, Brian. And then let's say for the hand, let's get, since, we're talking about bears here, we're not talking about people, let's put a sphere here, but then let's say he's got to have knuckles. So we'll say this is this plane of the hand here. So if we're looking at it like this, it's this plane of the hand here, and then this is going to be this plane. So the hand will go like this, and then we'll have a thumb out here. So if you look at it, basically you're going to see a hand like this. Okay, and the thumb can just be, at this point, just like a bean shape. Now, I think this bear is going to have a short sword because, I don't know, when you're that big, do you really need a big sword? So I think his sword, not his sword, is going to be kind of small. And we'll follow this plane here, this angle, to draw the hilt. So the hilt is going to kind of ride along with that part of the hand that's moving away from us here. Okay, and so you need to have this side, this plane here, so that's what this is. This mimics this plane mimics that. And we're going to see the bottom of it too because we're looking up at it. So we'll see a little bit of the bottom of the hand down here. Okay, and so now if we draw through, we can get the cylinder that is the hilt of the sword. And since we're looking up at it, we'll see a little bit of the bottom there. Okay, now over here, I think we're just going to have a bare hand. So let's go and we'll just kind of create an ellipse like so and another ellipse like that. Okay. And then on this ellipse, we can draw a plane. And that's where the plane, let's get rid of that one there. Let's move it more overlapping here. So on this plane, this is where the knuckles for the hand are going to come out. So 1, 2, 3, 4 knuckles, I'm assuming. I don't know how many fingers a bear has, but I'm going to go with 4 just because I figure every creature has 4 fingery things and then a thumb. I don't know about an owl bear. Maybe we could do an owl bear, but owl bears are D&D centric, and I kind of want to do stuff that's a little bit less corporate owned for these things. I might do an owlbear some other point. It'd be fun for another monster creature thing. But it's funny about an owlbear. What's really funny is the story that I've heard about how that was created was Gary Gygax, the guy who created Dungeons and Dragons, found a whole bunch of little plastic, like 2-inch plastic monsters that he bought from they were from China, I think. And they were like weird, misshapen creatures. And they didn't really have any, they weren't super distinct as to what they were. So he took those creatures and he basically gave them names and then made the D&D monsters out of those. So an owlbear was some misshapen kind of plastic dinosaur creature. Remember we used to get those? They're like 2 inches tall, maybe 1.5 inches tall. They came in like 3 colors: bright green, bright red, and bright yellow. And maybe blue. But that's, from what I understand, how the owl bear and some of those other weird D&D monsters were created, which is kind of neat. Anyway, so in here, let's draw like a triangle for the inside of the ear, another triangle there. You can curve it out a little bit. It doesn't have to be an exact triangle. But now, let's see. Let's get to toes. So here we've got this flat plane on the top of this hockey puck. So let's draw kind of bean shapes, but they're all going to point in toward each other because bare feet kind of do that. So we'll have one here. This one will overlap that one. This one will curve this way and overlap that one, and that one will curve that way and overlap that one. And I'm not sure if they have a thumb-like thing somewhere back on the back of their leg. Dogs do, cats do, but I don't know if they have that kind of a dew claw kind of thing. I think it's called a dew claw on a cat or a dog. I don't know. Anyway, so we're just going to kind of draw those beans in, and then we end up with kind of toeses. I'm going to overlap this one over that one so it doesn't feel quite so weird having that seam there. I feel like that seam's a little awkward. And we'll do the same over here. So right down the middle, we'll put one big bean right here and another one right there. And we'll get a little smaller on this one and a lot smaller on that one. And then we can bring this around. Now remember, all these are going to, as they move into the distance, the closest one's going to overlap the others. So this one's going to overlap this one, which will overlap this one, which will overlap that one. And then we could just draw the foot up, and we can kind of, let's put some hair here just to make them look a little bit more dashing. I don't know, or bears dashing. Anyway, so we got that, and then we can throw some more hair out here. And when I'm drawing hair like this, it's kind of a simple cartoony method of drawing hair. If you want to get more into it, you can draw fur by really getting in and kind of drawing more like that. But I prefer, for this kind of a drawing, kind of a more simple, just little triangles of fur. Now, what we want to establish with this knee is that this part of the leg is in front of the paw, but the knee is in front of it. So we want to make sure we have the shadow from that knee here overlapping. Remember, we had a cylinder here, right? So it's going to overlap the cylinder that makes up the lower leg. So what you need to do is kind of have this overlap here. So you have one overlap and then two overlaps, and that's the knee, is that second overlap there. And then this part of the upper leg, the thigh, is going to kind of go behind the knee, because the knee's kind of in front of that too. So it's going to kind of go behind the knee and reach back to the hip somewhere in here, okay? Now, let's get the bear's belly in here. So we'll get this down, and if you want to have a naked bear, you can just kind of have hair down here like that, right? I mean, we could get into other stuff, but I kind of don't want to draw bear stuff. So now with this one, similar kind of thing. The middle part of the leg here is going to overlap the paw, and then the knee, or actually more accurately, the upper thigh is going to wrap around and overlap that lower leg, and then the knee over here is going to overlap that lower leg. So you'll get kind of a shape like this. And then again, the belly will overlap the whole thing, like so. Now, as we're going here, we can think about the ribs of the bear. We can use that as a movement line. So the ribs basically is showing how the upper body is kind of shifting over the lower body. So we can kind of use that to show the shift in weight. So what we'll do is we'll have this come up over here, and then we'll bring this here. So all these movements are kind of creating a shift in weight this way. So he's moving this leg forward and moving that leg backward, right? And then, so therefore, this hand will be closer to us than that hand. Then this one will be closer than that hand. To that end, yeah, no, I think we're good with that. All right, cool. Let's make these fingers. So this finger, remember how we talked about those bean shapes, right? We're not going to go human fingers with these. We're just going to kind of have, we'll kind of go double jointed beans. So let me redo that because that looks messy. But from here we've got, remember we had those, the knuckles. So we're going to bring it out from there to the center of, around over the upper knuckle here, and then to the tip of the finger, and then back in here and in here. So basically what this is that's that kind of a motion right there, okay? We'll see the inside of its paw there, and we can do the same overlap here and the same overlap here. And notice what I'm doing is I'm turning them under because our hands kind of do that naturally. So I'll turn them under like that, and we'll get like a claw there and a claw here, and then we'll bring this claw up in here, and then this claw like so. So they'll kind of curve up. And so you want the interior pads of the foot to do the same thing. Okay. Now I know bears probably don't have that many joints on their paws, in their fingers, in their paws, but kind of want it to be slightly between a human hand and a bear paw. So now here we'll go like this, and we'll give that a nice paw there. And we can even, if you want, put the flat part in here to kind of show where the pads of the foot would be to make, or of the paw, to make the tracks that we're so used to. So these little half circles on the insides there. Now, remember, this has to overlap the midsection of this arm here, which will overlap the back section of the forearm here. And then we have the back of the arm back here overlapping the bicep there. The deltoid there. This here, what we're going to get is a convergence between where the chest and the arm is. So this, what I'm going to say is that this goes back, meets the chest, and then the chest overlaps it. So it's going to come like so. You're going to get this kind of S-curve, slight S-curve in here, where this is coming out in front and this is coming underneath here. So you kind of get that nice S-curve there. Isosceles trapezoid, huh? Okay. That's very complex. I don't know. So now we've got, let's throw some fur under here. Let's get to this other hand. So what I always like to do is I like to show, now we have those planes that we drew. So let's draw this first finger here. Now I like to show the way that the fingers wrap. So there's a bean there for the front of the finger for this part, and then we'll have the back of the finger there. Now I'm not going to do 3 joints on these because that would be human, and I don't know, bears don't seem to have 3. So we'll have this one come up and we're looking underneath it, right? And then this one will come across and we're looking at side. And then this one will be looking down at, as it curves under. Actually, wait, we can't do that because that's not the perspective I have. Oops. So since we're seeing the bottom of the hand here, we have to see the bottom there. So, all right, this one comes up and around like so. This one up and around like so. And maybe this one, this little pinky, we'll start to have it face us here. Like that. And remember, we want to have an arc here for the paw. So we're going to have knuckle there, bigger knuckle, higher knuckle here, lower, and then lowest knuckle there. So they'll wrap around. And then the overlap is going to be this one overlapped by this one, think this one's gonna be overlapped by that one, and the pinky is gonna be overlapped by this one. So this one's the one that's right in front of us. The one that's right in front of us will overlap everything. And let's put the thumb a little bit lower. We'll put it like there. We'll give it a nice little claw. Really, it's just a curved triangle. We'll throw claws on here. Why does this guy need a sword? I don't know. He looks ferocious without it, but we'll see. Maybe when you're fighting dragons as a bear, you need a sword. So back here, we've got the tube that makes up his arm right here. And what we're going to do is, let's erase that a little bit. Let's get that tube reestablished. The elbow is going to be back here. So for the elbow, in order to show the elbow, I'm just going to show some fur kind of where the elbow turns direction, almost as if this fur can't curve across there, so it's going to stick out a little bit, and you're going to get this kind of action of furry angles there. And then we're going to overlap this part of the hand, of the arm over the back arm, and we're going to overlap the hand over the middle section of the arm. So like this, and then this middle section of this back section of the arm will overlap over the deltoid section of the arm. And I'm giving this a little bit of more of an exaggeration on the deltoid over here because his arm is coming forward and it's holding something. And whenever a muscle is straining, it bulges. So I'm imagining he's straining to hold his sword up in the air like anyone would. I'm not saying straining like, oh, it's so heavy, but straining like just your muscles being used. So and every time that happens, your muscles bulge out. So we can throw some fur on that to really accentuate that there. Now let's get the other side of the sword. So if you really want to, when you're measuring like how wide this hilt is on the front, if I choose that wide, then it has to be not quite as long, but something close on the back end there. And then we'll draw kind of a big, triangle on top of a long rectangular shape, I guess. Try to keep, if you've got this angle here, we've got to have this point be at that angle. Okay, so I kind of messed that up. So always remember this angle, then this angle, especially since it's away from us, we can even exaggerate that angle more. Make it like that, and then if the center of the sword is here, we can draw from here, and then from there, and then the sword will look like it's in perspective. Okay? Now, let's get to the bear's head, and then we're going to start clothing this guy. Hey, there's an ant on my board. Get away, ant. So now let's get the bear head in here. So with the bear, I think what'll be fun is if he's got one eye open, he's looking this way. Maybe, I don't know. Or is he, let's see, is he looking that way? Yeah, why not? And then this eye can be, we can have it like a little squintier. Like he's like, what are those guys doing over there? So we're gonna have one eye squinty here, and one eye bigger and open, more open over here. And so as this eye squinches up, the forehead bulges here. As this eye goes down, the forehead's going to kind of flatten out here. Okay? And we're going to see the lower eyelid kind of bulging out. On this side, we'll just see the eyelids like so. Now, for the nose, we don't need that whole line. We do need to indicate that it goes back in space. And the indication of going back in space is curve around, and then another one like that. You can let those kind of indicate going back. And on this side too, we'll have this shape overlapping this shape, overlapping this shape, and you can use the furrows in the nose to do the same thing. And on the nose here, this side's going to go like this side's going to go like that. So we bring the nostril out here, can throw a line in the middle, and then bring a nostril out there. And if you want to kind of exaggerate his emotion, you can make this nostril go up a little bit. See, like that slight exaggeration will just give that kind of feeling of, what's going on over there, kind of a thing, all right? And then with his mouth, you can do the same thing. So we can flatten this out a little bit, and then have this go down, or let's see, actually, if that's going up, let's have this come down and this go up, like that. So he's like, this looks interesting. What's happening over here? And then we can have maybe his teeth on his, we can have like the lower jaw come like this, and we can have some teeth in here like this. Like that. And then for his lower lip, we'll kind of curve a lower lip around here, and then we'll bring some fur around the bottom for his chin. And if you want to add some texture to that lower lip, you can, just to give it some nice, make it feel like it's different than the furry area. And you can add a nice texture to the nose. And what's nice is this texture to the nose, if you end it right about here, it's showing the transition between the part of the nose that's on top of the snout and the part of the nose that's on the front of the snout, okay? So now, bring this around, let's erase this here, make it nice and clean. We can kind of create these furry things here, just to kind of follow that chin, that cheekbone, and then bring some fur out here. And we'll do the same on this side. We can bring the furry part out like this. I hear hasta luego being yelled in the background because my daughter's taking a Spanish class with her aunt. Isn't that nice? So we have hair there, and we'll have fur over there, and we'll kind of let this kind of curve around. Create a nice bear shape here. We'll go fur there. Okay, there we go. So now we've got a bear. You can give him eyebrows if we want, because bears sometimes do have eyebrows, so we can put some nice little eyebrows on there. Now, how do we make this into a bear warrior? Hi, I'm doing Monster Art School. What's up?
I came to take my car key away from you.
Oh, okay.
So I can run away while you do Monster Art School.
Interrupted again.
Yep.
There you go.
Thank you. Bye, Puppy. Bye, Steve. Goodbye, Bear.
So, let's fix that eyebrow a little bit. Sorry about the interruption. I stole her keys to our car. And we'll throw another, we'll just make these little, like, you can make them boxes, you can make them however you want to do, and then furry boxes, you know, put some fur on them. And then we want to show that the neck, we have the neck kind of coming up like this, the hair, so the head is overlapping the neck, but we want to make sure we know that the neck comes all the way around like this, because he's a big bear. So where the clavicle on a human would be is right about there. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw, and I'm sure they have a clavicle, I just don't know what they call it on a bear. I'm sure they have something similar, because our anatomy is very similar to, mammal anatomy is pretty universal in a lot of ways. They just have different names for it. So we're going to create an overlap there where his chin is kind of overlapping. And then under here, we'll do another overlap where his clavicle would be. Now we've got one serious bear. This is one mean mother bear. I don't know why I said mother bear, but maybe it is a mother bear. So we'll draw some fur over here. Now I'm using this fur here to kind of denote where his cheekbone would be, or her cheekbone, so you can see it. And then we are going to draw, I don't know if bears have whiskers, I'm not sure. I'll keep those whiskers off because I don't think they do. But I'll draw maybe a little fur there just to kind of indicate the shape. And we'll bring this up and around. And then we'll bring this up and around here like that. So now we've got the head, and we've got the chest here. Let's start thinking about, what is this bear wearing? So I was thinking that could be cool is this bear would have like a chest plate. So maybe right here where I imagine the chest would start. We'll draw up, around, under the chin. We'll let this overlap, and we'll kind of mimic that, but in the same direction there. And then we can bring the chest plate over, and then imagine it goes under the arm back here and then comes here. And then maybe it buckles out here like that. Not buckles, but kind of bounce, it comes out there. And then we can give this a little bit more of a curve around that belly, really accentuate the belly part here so we can make it come up like that. Let's get rid of that shape because that's not going to really make sense. That's a little bit more sensical. Okay, so now this bear is going to have, we can put like a clasp here. It's really just a half of a rectangle inside a rectangle, and you can draw a strap going back. And on this side, you can just kind of indicate the clasp. We don't need to see the whole strap on that side. And then, let's see, we'll go and we'll create some design on that armor. Maybe he's got a shape like a disc on the front of it. So we'll imagine that the armor kind of follows the form of his body, but not exactly. So we'll get rid of these kind of pectoral muscles, and maybe we'll put like a little bit of a shape of that here, but just to show that the armor curves in like it does here, right? And then let's see, we'll draw 1, 2, 3, 4 curved triangles, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 bean shapes, and then we'll draw kind of a shape like that. That'll be the crest of his family is the bear paw. So that's his warrior crest, and so we'll double that up so that it feels like it's got double armor on it. Just make it look like it has an extra edge. And then we can bring an edge around here. We can bring that up like so. So now we've got essentially the bear's chest plate. I think this bear has to have some shoulder armor because, bear's shoulder armor makes perfect sense. So let's say right about here we'll have a little buckle, a little strap, and then the armor. Now you want to make sure the armor looks like it wraps around the arm. So it can't go straight across. It has to wrap over, around, and behind the arm like that. Okay, so then you're going to make a second lip on that like that so that it feels like it's kind of curves up. And then we'll do a second section to develop the flat part of the armor, and then we can go up here and do another exactly like that. We curve up and around, and then we'll have the lip here, and then we'll draw around like that. And when we get this lip down here, we curve this around. And so what we're going to do is shade inside here, just so you can see the difference between the top one and the bottom one. And then we'll shade inside here as well, so we can see what's going on inside that arm. Inside the armor, I mean, sorry. So I imagine he has the same thing on this side. So over here, we don't need to see a lot of it because it's hidden by his head cheekbone here, his cheek here. So we can just throw the curve, and then we can throw the second curve out here. Remember, just create it like a lip so it wraps around. Now, down here, let's say this guy has a belt. I'm going to put it sagging down underneath his belly. So it's going to be nice and thin And we'll even put this at an angle down here. We'll put the belt buckle. So we'll make a rectangle, but we're gonna have both sides kind of at this angle so that when it's wrapped around, it looks like it's under his belly. See? And we could even do something fun with that, like throw a line in here and then a curve like that to show where the belt buckle pops out. And then we can curve this down and around and make a ribbon shape for the lip of the, for the, where the belt hangs around, and we can throw a thing there for the, I don't know what that's called, the little doohickey that holds your belt on, the hook, whatever. You can just throw that little hook thing there. And if you want to draw a circle there for the other hole that he may have used when he was a thinner bear. And then down here, let's see, we can give him some plate armor down here as well. So we'll have a piece of plate kind of come down like this. Hangs over his belly, or his lower belly. And we'll have that come up like that. So you want to make sure it's angled so it looks like it goes between his legs there. And you can bring a lip to that here too. And if you want to give it a second one, you can just kind of go under it like that. And kind of go like so. Now I think we need some design on this, some cool design. So maybe we have like a pattern. We'll bring the pattern on both sides, and we'll have another one here. Remember, as you're drawing the patterns, you want them to feel like they go over the surface. So if the surface goes down and in like it does here, we want this to go down, up, and back around and in, because it follows the curve of the surface. Right? So in here, we're going to have that curve there. Whoops. Curve there. We'll do another one here and another one there. And that'll just kind of give it that sense that he doesn't just have pieces of metal attached to him. Now, let's see. What else do we need on this guy? I don't know if we need anything on this guy. Maybe there's a little piece of armor back here just to kind of make him feel like he's protected on the back. And then over here we can throw kind of a slight curve with another lip like we've got here to make it feel like he's wearing a piece of armor on his back as well. And shade in there. Glad to see that, Stephen. Yeah, I do a lot of wolves, but I thought it was really cool to do a bear. I've done foxes this week, and you see, it was foxes and mice and rats, and now bears and pigs. So it's been kind of a fun, exciting animal week, or more than a week, I think. So let's give him his belly button here. Okay, he doesn't necessarily have a belly button, but we can put some fur just to kind of show that the belly sticks around like that. This kind of shows like there's an overlap of this section of his belly over the side section of his belly, so you can do the same over there. Now, for the head, I'm going to say, since these shadows are all falling down this way, let's do some shadow coming from this direction. So what I'm going to do is, I'm thinking of this as kind of a tube, so we're going to shade that tube like so. And we can throw some hair on it to make it feel like it's shaded, but give it that nice curve. And then, what's that there? That's just some fur, some leftover fur. So then under here, we'll do the same. We'll let this go to shadow. And that means that under here will go to shadow, and it also means under the head, we'll have some shadow. So let's clean this up a little bit because it's a little too messy. We'll get some nice cleaner lines here. And then we can put a shadow. Now we're thinking this is a tube that sticks out, so let's give it a tubular shadow to the side of the face here. So it'll come out like this, following the side of that face. And then it'll overlap over the arm, but the arm is coming out forward. So we're going to overlap around the arm like this, up, under the armor here, over the armor, and then like that. So what we're going to end up with is a shadow that kind of gives us this shape. And I just figure this stuff out from modeling three-dimensional objects in my head. I just kind of think, what does this look like as a three-dimensional object? And I kind of go, okay, well, if I can build that three-dimensional object in my head, I can see where the light's going to go. So over here, we'll deepen that nostril. We'll put some teeth in here. We'll bring this up a little bit more. Get those teeth a little bit sharper. We'll darken this side of his face a little bit more. So anything that's away from that light is going to get darker on this side. Especially underneath things like the brow here, because his brow is sticking out over his eyeball. It's going to cast a shadow on the eye. The cheekbone on this side is going to cast a shadow on the lower part of the mouth. I mean, the lower part of the face. So let's go like that. So there. And then, can I draw a hamster? Maybe. I've never drawn a hamster before. Of course, I never drew a bear before today, so maybe some show in the future we can do a hamster. So now we've got this bear figured out. Let's put some shadows on the armor. Now I want to do a different kind of shadow than I do on the fur. So the fur has a very shaky, shady, kind of angular thing. For the armor, I'm just going to kind of go with thin lines going all in the same direction. That way we have a feeling that the armor is made of a different material. So anywhere the armor turns away from the light, which if the light's here, this front part is going to turn away from it. We're going to see a shadow. We're also going to see where the armor overlaps the arm here, and where this piece of armor overlaps that piece of armor, so you get this kind of nice overlap. This whole section of arm is actually going to be blocked by the body, so I'm just going to let this go into shadow, and it'll make that hand come forward more. So if you see, like, what's going to happen is as I block the shadow out on the hand, I kind of keep that in mind. It's just basically going to make the hand come out further. And then down here. And since this is the back of the arm, I'm just going to let this whole thing go. Why not? And then we can make the underside of these knuckles kind of darken. We'll darken the bottom of that sword there. And we'll darken that there. Under the armor here, we'll just have a thin, because it's when something is like just wrapped around something else, the shadow, the occlusion shadow is very small. It's when something is casting a shadow, like the head is casting a shadow over the chest here, it's going to be much bigger and take up more space. So again, like the belt over here is going to be, let's overlap the belly over the belt here. And we can let the belt get dark over here. And then the belly can also cast a shadow a little bit on the armor here. So we'll just kind of do that a little bit. You can have a little shadow from the belt buckle. And then here we'll just kind of darken this, darken that. We don't need to do a lot of shading. I'm kind of getting more shading than I normally would. But the front here of the knee, we'll give that a little shadow like so. This side of the knee here, we'll do the same. We'll let this go to shadow, just to separate it out. And then I think the inside of the arm here, and I think this arm is going to cast a shadow over this part of his body. So go up to where it starts, where the arm starts coming out of the body, and then we can draw out, mimic that curve, and then this curve, and then the hand. And then we want to remember that this is a three-dimensional object, so we'll bring it around like this, and then we can just shade it. like so. And that should give us enough of a sense of that area going into the dark. And then we'll draw shadows on the fingers here, inside of the fingers. We'll let this get a little bit less shaded. Like one way to trick it out so that areas look like they're in the light is to kind of reduce the amount of line in that area. So like up here where this arm is kind of overlapping the other arm, we don't need to show the whole thing. We can just let it go like that. Whereas underneath the arm where we want to really show that something is darker than the other or that it's overlapping, that's where we really get into the darker shadows, right? So anything that's separated up top, you can kind of, like up here, you can kind of get rid of some of the separating lines. And what that does, it kind of gives a sense of this is in the light, and then you can kind of throw a sheen off that, like that, ching, like that. So now let's just draw a little bit of a shading on that lower part of the face so that we see that it's being blocked by the snout. The nose right here, let's really kind of accentuate this line between the light side and the shaded side here. And then I think we're pretty much done. The only thing I'm going to do now is add a shadow under the toes here. So let's get these claws in, and then we'll go under here. Remember, one toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and then we can wrap around the foot, okay? And then the body kind of comes out a little bit and then goes back around. So if we're imagining the knee coming out to about here, and then we can go around and really bring that back because we're looking down on his feet. Really bring it back. The armor here, and then we'll go back up, and then we'll kind of come around to the foot like that, and then we can shade this all in. And shading in this case, you use the side of your pencil so you're not drawing every line, and it kind of gives you more opportunity to give yourself a little freedom. So there. We'll get this done. Now on these toes, we'll go here and here and there. And now, you know, one thing we did with the pig yesterday that was kind of fun and it made the pig feel really more detailed, we'll go and we'll throw some squiggles on the armor. And this is just be abstract. Only put it in areas where there's going to be, where you think that it gets away from the light. So in the area where the light is right there, I'm going to put less squiggle. And where it gets darker, I'll put more squiggle. It just kind of gives the idea that they engraved the armor or they gave it some sort of a pattern or something like that. And we can do that here too. It just gives it more texture to the art. So now I'm imagining the light's hitting right here. So I'm not going to have much in the way of squiggles through there, where I can bring the squiggles through like so. We'll do the same here. Right now I'm actually just going to do loopy squiggles like this. I can just be a little bit more loose and kind of fun with it. Like that. This is a very technical term, squiggles. Just basically making a texture. Trying to keep it even across the surface as you go. So you're not like adding fake dark areas and stuff by putting too many lines too close together. But as you can see, you put it underneath everything and it just kind of brings all the values a little bit darker. Make sure you put it all over the place, because if you don't do it in the shadows, it's going to make the shadows look lighter than you want them to be. And then down here, we'll just put the squiggles here. It really adds a nice texture. Again, as long as you're making sure that there's approximately the same amount of lines per square inch or per square centimeter over the whole surface, it feels more like a pattern than a shading. Okay. And there, I think we are, guys. I think we're done now. Let me zoom out a little bit because I think it's hard to see the full bear, full effect of the bear. There he is. Thanks, Sue. Sorry that's so shaky. Yeah, it kind of has a scaly look to it. Yeah, in there. I imagine someone went in and kind of carved little details into his armor. Okay, so there we go, guys. It was a lot of fun. I love doing these animal creatures, so if you have more animal warrior things or even like animal monsters, I don't know, like we could do an owl bear, we could do, something like that. I mean, I guess I was thinking this week we're doing warrior creatures. Maybe we can do an owl warrior. That'd be kind of fun. So anyway, here we go. Monster Art School today. I'm going to be loading this up. Hopefully soon I'm going to be getting onto YouTube and loading things up. It's just taking me a long time. So you can watch all the rest of the week's episodes and all the months and months of episodes that we've got. They're all free on YouTube right now, or on here. Mostly on here, I guess. And thanks for coming. Oh, always put an exclamation point because you enjoyed drawing. At least that's what I always do. So there you go. There's our bear warrior. I'm really happy with it, and I hope you guys had fun drawing with me. I hope you did draw with me. If you didn't draw with me, then get out a pencil and start drawing, guys, okay? Remember all the little lessons that I try and give, little lessons. Like today we were talking about shading and stuff, so try to read those and watch those. And if you follow me on YouTube, it's Steve Ellis Artist on YouTube, and if you subscribe, I'm going to be loading up more stuff up there, so I'm just hoping to get that channel kind of getting more people up there because it's easier to videotape these to YouTube live, and I need to get to do it live if we're going to do it. So anyway, thank you very much. We're going to be doing one more this week. Is tomorrow, right? Today's Thursday or is today Wednesday? I don't know. Anyway, we have doing every weekday more creatures. Maybe we'll do an owl warrior or a cat warrior tomorrow. I'm not sure. Anyway, maybe an owl wizard would be fun. So, okay, see you all soon, and have a great day. Yeah, I can definitely, I'll photograph the final piece so you can see it on the Facebook. It'll be the next post on Facebook after this, okay? So have a great day, everyone. Thanks for coming and watching, and thanks for hanging out.